What's going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here for the Baltimore Battery, coming to you with the Final Strike Season 2, Episode 16, which is currently underway. If you haven't missed it, our last episode was actually done on live a couple weeks ago. So we are now returning to our regular scheduled broadcast. Hopefully you all will catch the next live, which does take place on YouTube, and we even do it on TikTok. So we'll be streaming those live events on both those places going forward. Also, make sure if you're watching on YouTube that you like, follow, and share. Definitely want to get this out so other people can see as well. So we greatly would appreciate that. Please make sure to also share the content to any of your favorite social media websites. That way we can reach as many people as possible. Honestly, without you all, we wouldn't be here. So I want to thank you all for all the support and love and everything along the way. So let's get into it today. We're actually going into the weekend. Trade deadline came and went. And, a lot of people were anticipating a really, really impressively big trade line full of fireworks. Didn't happen. I mean, there were a lot of teams, Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal. You had Nathan Eovaldi eventually came around. And honestly, I still think the Orioles won in the aspect that they got Zach Eflin a few days before the trade deadline even came. It honestly was a very methodical move by Mike Elias when you see what people were paying or trading to get rentals. I mean, the Padres, EJ Preller, that guy, their GM, the guy has made some really interesting moves in his time as GM for the Padres, but he still is missing the picture. Like, he has these massively absorbent contracts, and yet pitching seems to be eluding them. Even when they do have strong pitching from the starters, their bullpen seems to flounder. When he gets the bullpen fixed up, the starters seem to flounder. He can't find that balance. So he goes out and he gets Tanner Scott, which the Orioles were linked to at one point. And to get Tanner Scott, he trades 4 prospects. Of those 4 prospects, 3 of them were in their top 5. For a 2-month rental, you gave up 3 of your top 5 prospects. Now, when I've done this, when I've posted about this, just to show people the equivalency of what it was like, the biggest thing I got was, you're comparing apples and oranges. Yes, to an extent you are. But if MLB Pipeline is ranking this organization's top 5 prospects what they are and this organization's top 5 prospects what they are, it doesn't really matter if you're comparing apples and oranges because you're basing the top 5 best prospects of the organization. Orioles just happen to have a better minor league organization than most teams in baseball. So when I go out there and sit there and say that to get Tanner Scott, you were going to have to give up Heston Kjerstad, Colton Cowser, and Connor Norby, and then your number 24 prospect, can't tell me that that's feasible. I don't care who you are. I don't see how you give up 3 of your top 5 prospects for a relief pitcher who's going to pitch maybe 40 more innings this season. You gave up 4 prospects for somebody who is going to maybe appear in 35 to 40 more games. He's already appeared in 42. Most relievers these days are lucky to see 80, 85 games. So I just don't get it. I mean, I see moves like this, and then I turn around and see what Mike Elias is doing, and there are people who are not happy with Mike Elias right now. And yet, when I look at what Mike Elias did, he did what was capable and feasible of being done. We needed starters, so he went out and he got Zach Eflin and Trevor Rogers. No, it's not Max Scherzer. No, it's not Garrett Crochet or Tarek Skubal or Nathan Eovaldi or any of the other big names that were out there. Come to see it, the top 4 big names that were out there on the starting pitchers didn't even move. So obviously, it didn't matter what Mike Elias was offering; it wasn't good enough for what they want. Then I go back to the Dylan Cease debacle last year with the White Sox, and they refused to do any dealings unless Jackson Holiday was included in the deal. How many people on here honestly would go for trading Jackson Holiday for Dylan Cease? Yes, Dylan Cease did throw a no-hitter recently. Yes, Dylan Cease has been doing pretty well. In most places, though, Dylan Cease is a number 2 or a number 3 starter. He's not a number 1 starter. I'm sorry, he's not going to change the dynamic of your team like Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Randy Johnson, Tom Glavine, players like that did back in their day. Dylan Cease is a good pitcher. I'm not taking that away from him, but he is not a 1A frontline starting pitcher. So Zach Eflin has postseason experience. Trevor Rogers is a former first-round pick. He was number 13 overall. I'm sorry, to be a 13th pick in the first-round draft, I don't care if you aren't showing it yet. There is a reason you were drafted that high. Now, I know the draft is a gamble. I understand that. But you cannot tell me with all the people that my class has hit on that this move wasn't made for a specific reason. It just doesn't hold any water. The fact is, Trevor Rogers is a lefty who's 26 years old, who has 2 years of club control left. He's under contract. Our pitching gurus are going to do what they can to help him out and fix him and hopefully make it beneficial for us. Zach Eflin, he's a veteran pitcher who's pitched in the postseason, who has experience. The guy throws strikes. That is what he is good for. The type of defense that we have, which I know that goes into question over the last few games, but the type of defense we have, Zach Eflin is going to benefit from that. Trevor Rogers is going to benefit from pitching in Camden Yards. Zach Eflin is under contract next year. So you have to look at the fact that Tyler Wells possibly is going to start the season on the IL, as well as Kyle Bradish next year. Corbin Burns is a free agent. So that leaves Dean Kramer and that leaves Grayson Rodriguez under contract. You going to go out and sign 3 starting pitchers? I doubt it. Cade Povich, he's had his couple bad games, but he's also pitched fairly decent in some, so he's shown he does have capability. He's got to get the walks down. Chase McDermott, I haven't seen him pitch in the majors, so I don't know if he's ready or not. But the fact is, you're going to have somebody to have to pitch with Grayson Rodriguez and Dean Kramer next year, and right now we do not have the starting pitching depth that we started this season with for next year. So those are things that people have to consider, and those are the types of things that I want people to understand. There was a methodical move in the fact that Trevor Rogers and Zach Eflin are under contract next year. If we do not sign Corbin Burns, which is a possibility because he has already said he can't wait to test the free agent waters. Hopefully he gets his mind set and returns to us. I think it's all right. I think it was actually a good move. And Zach Eflin, I think he's going to be reinvigorated by the fact when he sees the excitement and the drive that the players on our team have. And I think that's going to benefit him. He's already won his first game with us, so we'll see what happens next. Trevor Rogers got beat around in his first game, but a lot of that could be nerves as well. We'll see. It's too early to say yes or no these trades worked out the way they wanted, but I look at what Mike Elias did, and I think he did the right thing. Sir Anthony Dominguez, I think, was the best pickup, honestly. Getting Soto in the bullpen, you got a lefty reliever, you got a righty reliever, which we needed both. They fill needs, and they're actually pretty good relievers. Now, me personally, I would have liked to seen another pitcher capable of being a back-end closer. Only reason is, and I'm not knocking Kimbrel, because Kimbrel has pitched pretty well for us for most of the season. He's had his hiccups, and when he has his hiccups, he goes on a little tangent of bad outings. So hopefully things straighten up, but I would like to get him some rest, as the guy's already pitched in 42 games this year. He's 36 years old. We need him fresh and ready for the postseason. And right now, I do not exude as much confidence in our bullpen as I do in our starting pitching, just because our bullpen is overworked and tired right now. And I think a lot of that has to go into play. Um, Zach released an article talking about how the Orioles had their first losing month in over a year. And somebody commented on it. It's okay. They won the division last year. They won 100 games, kind of being a smart aleck. But when you think about it, they're not easy tasks. I mean, first of all, last year, nobody expected the Orioles to be who the Orioles were. Orioles also played one of the toughest schedules for the first half of the season this year. They have one of the easiest second half. So we'll see what happens. But the fact is, it's not easy to consistently win games in series the way that the Orioles did last year and did for a portion of this year. We were decimated by injuries when you had John Means, Tyler Wells, and Kyle Bradish all have Tommy John surgeries. Two of them, Tommy John. One of them was more of a repair than an actual Tommy John replacement. So then you get Dan Coulomb. Grayson Rodriguez has been on the IL. Dean Kramer has been on the IL. I don't think people understand and appreciate the reality of how healthy we were last year that we got away with it. Our all-star closer didn't even start the season because he was already on the IL with Tommy John. I don't think people truly understand Mike Elias was playing in a difficult situation. And then I see that the Eloy Jimenez trading was, crazy. If we wanted a right-handed power bat, why do we go ahead and trade Austin Hayes? Austin Hayes isn't a power hitter. We weren't going to sign Austin Hayes. Austin Hayes is a strong left fielder. Eloy Jimenez is primarily going to be a pinch hitter and a DH. He might see some time, not much, but some time in the outfield. If he can regain the stroke that made him hit 31 home runs in 2019 and become a Silver Slugger finalist in 2020, it's a low-risk gamble that Elias took and definitely brings a veteran to the team that might be able to help out in the postseason. And I don't think people really understand how methodical this move was. It was well thought out. I mean, even before we traded Austin Hayes, we were talking about getting a right-handed power bat. So I don't understand what people were upset about. Fact is, Elias went out, got you two starting pitchers. He got you two relievers. He got you a right-handed power bat. He got everything he said he wanted to do. On top of that, the only player we really lost that was of high value was Connor Norby, our number 5 prospect. Yes, we lost Matthew Etzel. He was our number 10 prospect. But other than that, I don't see how people should be upset. There were plenty of teams in on Tarek Skubal, plenty of teams in on Garrett Crochet, and Jack Flaherty. And I honestly think the Dodgers overpaid for Jack Flaherty. I wouldn't have minded him back, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized the guy didn't work out last year when he came to the Orioles. And over the last few years, this is his best half season of baseball. Is that going to continue? He was already put in a pressure situation last year and folded. Now he's going to the Dodgers, more media coverage, more pressure. Do you honestly think he's going to continue to pitch the way he's pitching, where he's been out of the spotlight, under the radar, doing what he's been doing? Astros, I don't even understand the move for Kikuchi because he's not that good of a pitcher. I mean, every time I see the Orioles play him, they beat the living tar out of him. So I don't know what the Astros are doing now. They might see something that we don't see, which is always possible. It's the same thing with Mike Elias. He sees things that people don't see. And that's how he's built this team, and that's how he's got the talent we have. Speaking of talent, it really sucks. Jordan Westberg, unfortunately, has a fractured wrist. and will probably be gone for the season. There's an outside chance he does return. But on the same aspect of that, we also get Kobe Mayo being brought up to the team. So, and Jackson Holliday's back. He hit his first career home run, which was a grand slam the other day. I understand the lore in Baltimore of wanting to have a pennant and a World Series team. But 1983 was the last time we won or were in a World Series. 1983. We've won the AL East a couple times. We've gotten to the championship game a couple times, been to the postseason a couple times. We just haven't done anything with it. And yes, trust me, I want a pennant as much as the next person. I won a World Series as much as the next person. I was fortunate enough to be 4 years old when the Orioles last won their World Series. But I also don't want to mortgage a future for somebody that you're probably not going to re-sign and only keep around for 2 months. I don't get letting go 3 and 4 players for a 2-month rental. It's like, Blake Snell. I was all aboard getting Blake Snell, who never got moved. But I was all aboard for it. But my only stipulation with Blake Snell, even with the steep $30 million price tag for next year, was trade for him only if he picks up his player option next year. And he never got traded. Crochet demanded that anybody who traded for him, the only way he'd pitch in the postseason is if he got an extension. I find that hard to be able to demand when you've got a guy who has already doubled his career high in innings and has already maximized his total career innings in one season already. He's also had Tommy John surgery. He's also had a shoulder injury. So, durability is a concern there. And you've got a guy who could possibly be on an inning limit. Why would you give the moon and the stars for these people? We just have to look at the reality of the landscape of what happened. The landscape was the trade market was not as active as people thought. And one of the reasons with that is in combined, there's a total of like 7 teams that are more than 5 games from the wild card area. With the expanded playoffs, this is normal. Also, I go based off last season and this offseason. What these people were asking for from teams was exorbitant costs. The Orioles have the top farm system. A lot of teams think the Orioles are desperate enough to try and get to a World Series this year, so they're going to ask for everything under the sun and see if they're dumb enough to give it to them. Mike Elias is smarter than that. So this is what people need to understand, and this is what people need to realize. There is a long game and a short game here. Yes, I would love for the team to go for it. But at the cost of trading tomorrow, you saw what the Florida Marlins did when they won their World Series. They got all these high-priced free agents after they built a team, won a World Series, and then they gutted the team. And then for 10 years, they were dog shit. Then they did the same thing again and gutted the team. And they've been dog shit ever since. I mean, they've had some cusp, but they've got some starting pitchers that have been pretty good. But, I mean, would you want to forgo a team being competitive and competing for a World Series on a regular basis just for one season of glory? There's a lot of people who forget what it was like prior to the 2022 season, where we barely had 12,000 fans in the stand. The only time that we actually sold out games were when the New York Yankees came to town, and most of it was New York fans. I don't recall enjoying that. I don't recall enjoying losing 110 games, 3 out of 4 years, and the one year we didn't was because you had the 60-game COVID season. Remember what it was like to roll out with plan C and D free agents to put on the field and, race to see if you're going to make the National League or the Major League record for losses in a season. And what's even better about this now is you can't tank because there's a lottery that determines who gets the number 1 pick. So even the worst record, as we saw, Cleveland Indians had less than a 1.8% chance of getting the number one pick this past season and got it. So, what is the benefit of losing, mortgaging your future for just a chance to win a World Series? Not guarantee, but a chance. The Orioles have proven in the past that just because you have all the right talent doesn't mean you're going to win. Check back at the World Series where the Orioles swept the Dodgers, who had Sandy Koufax. Go look at that. There's no guarantees in baseball. Health, luck, and skill all have to come together. Last year, the Orioles had a lot of health, and it was on their side. They had a lot of talent and skill. This year, they have a lot of talent and skill. But the luck of it and the health part of it have not lined up too well. So, mortgaging the future to see if that alters or changes, I don't know. I don't think that's something I'm all for. I'd rather continue the way we're doing, compete for the postseason, get the pieces we need along the way, and win a World Series. The Astros have been the team to beat in the AL for a decade now. I'd rather have that over one season that you might win a World Series. Let me know what you think. Do you all agree with me? Do you all disagree? What do you all think of the trade deadline? Because I tell you what, I was honestly hoping that we could get Zach in here on this because there were a few players that Zach was pretty upset we got rid of. But Zach, our minor league guru, can also help us, find out the valuations of whether these trades were as good as they were or not. I wrote an article the other day, B- I gave for the trades, specifically because, A, we don't know what's going to transpire. The two starting pitchers came with losing records and ERAs over 4. So until we get towards the end of the season, it's still up in the air. Now, Sir Anthony Dominguez has pitched very well for us. So that's done very well. But the jury's still out. We'll see what happens going forward. We'll see what happens in October when we're playing October baseball. Things are going to get a little bit tight down the road. We're still in a battle for first place in the AL East with the New York Yankees, who I don't think a lot of people are raving about the trade line they had. I don't know what they did that was so great. Picking up Jazz Chisholm was great, but they didn't know anything to address the starting pitching. They struck out on a few of the relievers that they wanted. They did end up getting one, but I don't think it was who they wanted. So, I don't know. We'll see. It's going to all come down to it down the stretch to be rather interesting. Want to thank the Baltimore Battery for giving me the opportunity to do this. Without the Baltimore Battery, I would not be here, and we would not be talking and having these conversations. So don't forget to check out the Baltimore Battery at thebaltimorebattery.com. You can find them on TikTok and X, formerly of Twitter, with the tag handle at @TheBeMoreBattery. You can find the Final Strike on X, formerly of Twitter, at the tag handle at @TheFinalStrike_. And then yours truly, Stephen Heckman. You can find me on X, formerly of Twitter, or formerly Twitter, and TikTok at SRJ Heckman. Also on YouTube at SRJ. The Final Strike _ is on YouTube, so you can look that up as well. Please be sure to like, share, and follow. Without you, we could not do this. Also, don't forget to check out the merchandise that the Baltimore Battery has. You can go to their Twitter page and see that. Follow the link there and get yours today. Show your support for the Baltimore Battery. I want to give a big shout out to the company Scooters for Rent, my sponsor, for giving me the ability to do this as well. They keep the lights on. They give me the product to be able to do this and make sure that we keep coming to you every week as we can. If you're ever in the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Eastern Shore area, and you are looking for mobility products, from mobility scooters to beach wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs, and even manual wheelchairs and lift recliners, reach out to Scooters for Rent at 302-280-6203. Don't hesitate to tell them that Stephen from the Final Strike sent you. Till next time, Birdland, please keep the beer cold, and don't forget, Let's go O's. Peace out.